I have wanted to be a medical doctor since I was 9 years old. But when I was finally old enough to acquire some medical experience, the pandemic started chasing me. Consequently, I've been rejected from hospitals again and again and again.
In other words, my options were about as empty as this room.
I need to find a solution quick because every day I spend without medical experience worsens my med school chances.
So it begins. I hopped on the old Google and began searching for an answer.
No. Yes. And yes.
To be or not to be? EMT or phlebotomist? EMT or phlebotomist? EMT or... You get the idea. So I shuffled my cards, closed my eyes, and blindly chose... EMT.
Well, that's not exactly how I chose.
But now I had a new door open after the previous slams in the face. Poetically, I found a flyer for fight or flight EMT training and signed up for a 9-week, mostly online class.
Talk about good timing. It started 2 days after I ended my second semester of college. That Saturday of recovery from finals week was glorious. But then Sunday slammed into me like a truck.
Or maybe it was my textbook. I'm gonna need an EMT. Good thing I'm gonna be one.
The class began with a Zoom meeting on this laptop where the instructor told me that I should expect to spend 20 hours a week in order to be successful. 41 chapters, and I started at, you guessed it, numero uno. Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, I had 1 or 2 chapters plus a quiz due from the book. Highlighters in hand, I read, watched lecture videos, took notes, studied, quizzed, and repeated those steps for 5 weeks. At the end of week 5, I took the midterm and scored a not so great 81%. But I only need a 70% to pass the exam. So I continued reading, watching, note-taking, studying, quizzing until week 8, the beginning of skills testing. For 3 days, I had to learn and perfect 7 stations that are tested on, plus 3 others that might be tested because they're in the random station. The 2 most challenging stations are the 42-point medical and trauma assessments, which I started learning about during the 2nd week and had to complete a medical assessment during the midterm. That video is right here. Although I thought I completed my practice medical assessment well, my instructor informed me that I had failed due to not making an early enough transport decision. I still have a lot of work to do. Then test day arrived, 9 weeks after starting. I took a moment to reflect how far I've come these past 2 months. I read a 1,500-page textbook, for crying out loud, and it was all for this moment.
A 100-question multiple-choice exam in 7 skill stations, including a medical assessment, which I failed at midterm. With clammy palms and a dry mouth, I answered those 100 questions. No, I obliterated those 100 questions and scored an 88%. I was ecstatic.
Now I could move on to the skill stations, starting with the trauma assessment and ending with the dreaded medical assessment. It was over. After completing my medical assessment, I returned to the waiting room for my results.
My instructor slowly approached me.
My heart began pounding. Did I pass? Then she said, "Congrats, you passed," and handed me my certificate. It was glorious. 9 weeks of reading, studying, and performing medical assessments, all for this 8x11 piece of paper. Amidst my excitement, I almost forgot a crucial next step.
I still had to take the National Registry EMT exam.
Well, here we go again. Thank you guys for joining me on my medical journey. And if you want to watch the first video where I start considering an EMT position, click right here. As always, Ad Meliora.
Calling out Mayday.
Now I can help random people in places like this.